say this? This is awkward. So yeah, I was originally hoping to get this video out by around October-ish, maybe early November at the latest, because I released the first part of this college essay reading series around September, and I was hoping to at least get all the videos up by the time that all of their application deadlines were due. And it has just occurred to me that the deadline for UC applications was November 30th, and I heard that that was extended to December 4th due to some website crash, but I'm not completely sure about that. Either way, it's already December 8th, so by the time this video comes out, the UC application deadline would have already passed. So for current seniors that were trying to get into a UC school next fall, that were hoping to get some advice from this video, I'm sorry. I hope that you may forgive me. Yeah, I really messed up.
Mother!
With that in mind, whether you're a current senior or a junior or wherever you are in your life, I hope that maybe you can still gain something out of this video. If nothing else, it could maybe give you insight on how to write college essays in general, or just give you more insight into my personal life. I'm going to tell you right now that 3 out of the 4 essays that I am about to read to you for the UC essays, I have actually pretty much already read in my previous videos, because I basically copied and pasted those essays into the other ones. There's only one essay that is totally original that I know you guys have not heard before from any of my other videos if you have watched them. So stay tuned for that if you want to hear something original. And some of my top college choices when I was applying to schools last year were the UC schools, which I didn't end up going to for a couple of personal reasons and a couple of practical reasons, which I'm not going to get into today. In case you're unfamiliar with how the UC application works, I'm not sure if it changed this year at all, but at least when I was applying, there were a set of 8 different prompts of which I had to choose 4, and then I could use that to apply to any number of UC schools that I wanted to. And in my case, I decided to apply to UC Irvine, UC Davis, UC San Diego, and UCLA, all of which I got into except for UCLA for kind of obvious reasons. But anyway, on to the video. Okay, so the first prompt I responded to, which by the way, the University of California calls personal insight questions. All of these are 350 words or less, so neither of them are too long, but obviously there's 4 of them, so this video is still probably going to be pretty long, and I apologize for that ahead of time. But anyway, for the first one, I respond to prompt 3, which reads, what would you say is your greatest talent or skill? How have you developed and demonstrated that talent over time? My response, I am a runner. It's always been my defining characteristic. The nerves I feel when I step onto the track, the gunshot that fades behind the perpetual sounds of footsteps and heavy breathing, the sweat that seeps into my uniform and drips onto the track. I love it all. I took an admiration for track in middle school because the raw essence of the sport captivated my eager mind. I started running at school and around my neighborhood, but didn't join a team until I unconditionally dedicated myself to the sports in 9th grade. I found solidarity with my teammates but soon realized that my talents paled in comparison. However, I eventually saw success through my everlasting efforts, having qualified to the LA City Championships many times. While I'm grateful for my progress, I'm still hungry for more. Although I don't let running consume me because there's more to life than athletics, I cannot help but feel like this sport is an important part of my life rather than a simple addition to it. Perhaps because it has permanently transformed my attitude. Now, I pursue my dreams by employing the focus, grit, and sagacity I've obtained from running. I used to be an indifferent child without much ambition. However, once I acknowledged my lack of dedication, I took responsibility and the results were clear. Putting thousands of miles on my legs increased my determination tremendously, which I translate into the classroom and at home. Wherever I am, I use the mindset cultivated as a runner to undertake challenges in pursuit of larger aspirations. Furthermore, this sport improved my fortitude by simulating real-life concerns. I sustained injuries in 10th and 11th grade, but still competed at City because I remained patient and focused on my goals. This applies to other aspects of my life when I'm knocked down and have to get back up. Now, I still have lots of room for personal growth. As much as I've improved my mentality over the years, I hope to expand on it at the University of California and for the rest of my life. So yeah, for those of you that have watched my previous videos, you would probably recognize this as it's basically a condensed version of my Common App essay, which was 650 words. And here I'm basically saying the exact same thing, but in just over half the length. I'll repeat some of the stuff that I said in that video, where this essay really goes to show why I run and the kind of impact that it's had on me, not just in my athletic career, but in my everyday life. And I hope to employ this mindset that I mentioned in numerous aspects of my life. Something else I want to mention about this, which I mentioned in previous videos, and I'll say it again because of how important it is that you should copy and paste essays to different colleges whenever you're given the chance. And in this case, if you remember, at the end I put, I hope to expand on it at the University of California and for the rest of my life. On several other essays, not just the Common App, I took this part right here. I don't know if you can see it, but I took this part right here and then just swapped it out and put, I remember one of the other schools I applied to was the Colorado School of Mines, and I put Colorado School of Mines right here. Literally the exact same thing. It was interesting. And in terms of the way that I wrote this essay as a whole and the kind of style of my essay, I decided that I wanted to start this essay with some kind of image. So that's why I said, the nerves I feel when I step onto the track, the gunshot that fades behind the perpetual sounds of footsteps and heavy breathing. And I just put a little very specific tangible details that the admissions officer can really visualize when they're looking over my essay, because that's how they're going to remember you. It will help distinct you from thousands of other applicants. But yeah, the more distinct you can make your essay, the higher chance you're going to get accepted into acting school. And one of the best ways to do that is to create images inside the reader's minds. And then the next few paragraphs after that, I was briefly going over basically my running history, some of the stuff that I've done, trying to be descriptive, vivid, and expressive, but not to the point of being pedantic. Because you want to sell yourself, but you don't want to overly inflate yourself and make yourself seem better than you are. If you make yourself seem better than you are, the admissions officers, if they accept you, they're going to accept someone that's completely opposite of what they think you are. Who they think you are is someone that they think would be a good fit for the school and someone that they would like to participate in the program. So don't do that. Be descriptive, be passionate, but not in a fake way. There you go. Okay, next essay. This is responding to prompt number 5, which reads, describe the most significant challenge you have faced and the steps you have taken to overcome this challenge. How has this challenge affected your academic achievement? My response. My issue started towards the end of 6th grade. I was surrounded by people of all shapes and sizes. More specifically, I saw many athletes and I also started taking inspiration from professional competitors. I then decided to turn my life around and get in better shape. Unfortunately, I was a naive child who did not take a safe, sustainable approach. I made substantial alterations to my diet, but not the good kind. Rather than consuming healthier foods, I consumed considerably less of the unhealthy food that I was already eating. Way too little, in fact. I was on the brink of anorexia and my parents were barely able to make me eat scraps. I confronted the psychological barrier between fact and belief throughout all of middle school. I dropped from a slightly overweight 130 pounds for a 5-foot kid to a 100-pound 5'4" adolescent. This mindset diminished my health and social life for years to come. Ultimately, and to my eternal prosperity, my parents finally decided that enough was enough and it was time to get professional help. About a year after this issue started to manifest, my parents and I found a nutritionist who understood my problem. Over several appointments, I started to understand the importance of eating nutritious food and enough of it to sustain my body. I slowly increased my caloric intake while simultaneously eating healthy and working out. Over the next 2 years or so, I approached my way from 6th grade but with a body I was much happier with. This experience not only taught me to live a more healthy lifestyle, but also how to live life in general. Throughout this endeavor to improve my well-being and fitness, I learned that I need to take a sensible and calculated approach to self-improvement rather than simply torturing myself in hopes of better results. I now take this approach with every task I take, with every school assignment I'm given, and every responsibility my family assigns me. I plan out my actions and execute them to the best of my ability. So yeah, that essay is pretty personal. It's an essay that I have read in a previous video. This was the first time that I wrote the essay because I wrote my UC essays first. Every time I read this over again, it reminds me of my journey in middle school and all my highs and lows, and I pretty much went over the details of that in this essay, but I'm just really happy that my parents and family and friends, they all supported me through this journey and set me on the right path for my life. So thank you to them, really good shout out to them. And that's something that I could touch on a little as a general rule of thumb for how you want to write some of these essays, is that when you're comfortable doing so and when you think it would be good, when you think it highlights a good skill or trait of yours, it's good to highlight some very personal and specific details from your life. Those specific details really stick out in the reader's minds, and when you tie it in together towards the end and then you reflect on it and realize that a lesson can be learned and it highlights a trait of yours. In my case, it was that with everything I do in my life in regards to school, my athletics, any personal projects I pursue, I always try to plan out what I do ahead of time, and I try to execute that plan to the best of my ability, rather than just pushing forward as hard as possible and burning myself out. So that's an important lesson that I've learned, and that's a trait that I'm pretty proud of, that I plan to continue to apply to as many aspects of my life, to my everyday life in the future, for the rest of college and my future career and onward. So the advice I would give to you is that whatever you have in your life, whatever you want to demonstrate to the admissions officers to different colleges, whatever trait you want to highlight, just make sure you grab those specific details and put them in your essay, and then highlight how that trait would lead you to being more successful and how that would allow you to contribute to a positive environment, positive impact on the student body at the college that you're applying to. All right, and now for the third personal insight question, where I responded to prompt 6. Think about an academic subject that interests you. Describe how you have furthered this interest inside and/or outside of the classroom. My response: ever since I was a child, I've had a fascination for science and math unprecedented by almost all of my other interests. Even in elementary school, I never ceased to further investigate topics and inquire more information. I always wanted to know how and why something worked, rather than just accepting it at face value. My interest in the subject area only increased as the years progressed and as I learned to apply math and science to the real world. The objective material enraptured me because I always loved to complete tasks or experimentally substantiate a hypothesis via organized and proven methods. As I aged and acquired more learning opportunities, I continued taking math and science courses in high school, even when I didn't need them to graduate. The material came to me naturally, and I continued to do well in these classes. I took AP Biology and AP Chemistry in 10th and 11th grade, respectively, and scored a 4 on both AP tests. I'm currently taking AP Calculus AB and AP Physics in hopes of pursuing a major that would allow me to contribute to the scientific community, preferably within the scope of a physical or molecular science. The joy I attained from these classes guided my college decision making. I want to continue my studies at the University of California to understand my world and how to change it for the better. While my exploration into these subject areas boosted my perception of the universe, I stumbled upon a profound realization. The more I know, the more I realize how much I don't know. Having recognized this fact, I become more motivated every day to investigate what I don't fully comprehend. I don't want to leave a question unanswered or a stone unturned. This never-ending cycle is what drives me and many others to pursue knowledge, share it to the world, and use it to solve problems. I accept that, in the end, we are all marginal specks within the vast scope of the universe. However, I am determined to contribute what I can to a planet I am proud to call home. By the way, if you want more information on what AP classes I've taken and what I scored on the AP exams I took in high school, you can go ahead and check them out with, I believe it's going to be over here, the iCard thing. I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to click right here. But yeah, just a little shameless plug. But anyway, back to the essay. This is another essay that I have read in a previous video. I am not sure which one, but for those of you that are new, Yeah, this basically explains why I am so passionate about learning and exploring different subjects and trying to apply complex concepts to real world situations to solve problems and to do myriad of things that I am hoping to do in my life as an engineer. And basically I divide this essay into 3 sections. The first section talking about the origins of my interest to learn and how I got into science and math in the first place in the first paragraph. And the second paragraph, I talked about more stuff that I did recently as time went on, about the AP classes I took. And then the last paragraph talks about where I see myself going in the future and what's going to be my inherent motivation to continue to pursue these subjects in the future. And I'd say that as a general rule, if you're trying to explain to the admissions officers why you're passionate about something, this is a good structure for you to do it. Outline your motivation for pursuing that certain subject or whatever the case may be, and talk about specific instances of how you apply it to your life or how you've gone about pursuing that interest. As the original prompt said, inside or outside a classroom. In my case, I talked about it mostly in the classroom with just a little bit here and there outside of the classroom. So yeah, that's advice I give to that prompt specifically or a prompt similar to it. Okay, the last essay, my 4th personal insight question response. This is the last prompt number 8. And this is going to be an essay that none of you have heard before, both new watchers and people that have seen all my previous videos. You haven't heard this essay before. Okay, the prompt. Beyond what has already been shared in your application, what do you believe makes you stand out as a strong candidate for admissions to the University of California? Basically, the open-ended question. And every task I've been given, every challenge I've faced, and every goal I set for myself, I've never stopped until I finished the job to the best of my ability. Even if I know it's impossible to complete the task the way I was originally assigned, I put pressure on myself to find the best possible outcome. For instance, when I was in 6th grade, I took up a challenge few were willing to follow through with, solving a Rubik's Cube. I went to Target one day and found the puzzle I had previously only heard rumors of. I took it home and ventured to uncover its mysteries. It was an exciting adventure at the time, and I told myself that no matter how difficult it became, I was going to solve it. Now, I've never been the brightest in my class or the most talented, but what I lacked in that aspect, I compensated for with my will. I think there might be a typo there, just ignore that. Despite many failed attempts and numerous episodes of frustration, I solved the twisty puzzle after a few weeks of practicing and watching tutorials. I became overjoyed when I turned the last move of the last algorithm and saw those shiny colors align. Even after I solved it once, I continued to develop my skills and improve my times. I transitioned to larger cubes and twisty puzzles that weren't even cubic. I am proud that I was able to buckle myself down and work towards a goal without capitulating. This ordeal helped me recognize this quality about myself, and to this day, I still capitalize on it to achieve my goals. My ability to stay focused on my duties and often execute them with success has helped me conquer my responsibilities inside and outside the classroom. I plan to further my academic and possibly athletic endeavors beyond high school at the University of California. I intend to help others by bettering myself and attaining new skills. Additionally, I want to help my peers achieve their goals and motivate them to never give in to despair, as was with my experiences. So yeah, that was a pretty interesting one. Like I said, it's the open-ended essay. Lots of schools have these types of prompts where you can pretty much write about whatever you want. And in my case, I decided to write mostly about Rubik's Cubes with a message in there about my personal traits and thing that I want to highlight about my ability to not give up. But overall, it's still fun to write. And in case you're curious, these are all of the twisty puzzles that I brought with me to college. I have a bunch more back home. I have a cube, which is a very interesting one to say the least. I have a 8x8, 9x9 where I decided to make a little heart. I have a 3x3x4, 3x3x2, 2x2, 4x4, 2x2x4. This one's really interesting because it jumbles, so you can go like, yeah, and do some weird stuff with that. But strangely, I have not decided to bring a 3x3. Actually, the only 3x3s I have lent to other people back home. but that's a story for another day. And in case you're curious, my personal best for the regular 3x3 Rubik's Cube is 17.3 seconds, I believe. I'll correct myself here in case I got that time wrong. Comment down below if you want to see me make a tutorial on how to solve any of these. I am definitely open to making one. Yeah, that was just a little side note that I thought was pretty interesting. And in case you're curious also, what I wrote in the last paragraph about I plan to further my academic and possibly athletic endeavors beyond high school at the University of California, specifically the athletic parts. I had not received specific offers from the coaches to run for them, but I did get in contact with a few of them, and it looked like I may have had the opportunity to walk onto some teams. So that's why I said possibly athletic endeavors, because I'm not very fast and I am not necessarily D1 material, not now at least. But yeah, in terms of the essay as a whole, this was pretty fun for me to write, and I basically just wrote about what I'm passionate about and something that I've really enjoyed doing for the past 7 years or so since I picked up a Rubik's Cube for the first time. Like I said, this was an open-ended question, so I highly recommend that many of you take advantage of the open-ended question, not just for UC application, but for any other schools or regular applications that may have an open-ended prompt. When you see that, use that opportunity to talk about something that you haven't had the chance to talk about before that you want to talk about, or if you didn't already have something in mind, think about something that happened in your life or something that you do on the side, something that isn't necessarily school related, that you think would be interesting for the admissions officers to know about you, or that you think are important in helping define who you are, or that highlight one of your character traits. And in my case, I decided to talk about the Rubik's Cube because I had not had a chance to talk about Rubik's Cube in any of my other essays, as you have seen. And also, it is something that is a big part of my life that I thought it would be important for admissions officers to know if they are going to accept me. And it is also something that highlights my traits of not giving up. And I guess I could have talked about writing again if I wanted to highlight my persistent ability to not give up despite having to overcome various obstacles. But I already talked about running in the first essay, and if I talk about it again, it would seem like I'm trying to milk running for everything it has, just to have some words written down on paper. So instead, I decided to take this approach, and I think it turned out pretty well. In regards to this essay specifically, that's the advice I would give to you. And that is it. That is the end of this video. That is the end of my college essay reading series. Sorry once again for getting this video out after the UC application deadline, which is a major oof on my part. But I hope you enjoyed. And I am not completely sure when my next video is going to be out, but I have a pretty interesting idea for what I'm going to do for that video, and I can almost guarantee you that you're not going to want to miss it, especially if you were interested in the running aspect of my life and how that has looked over the past few years. So until next time, take care. Thank you for watching. Bye bye. Frick.